Isn't that fun?
That's good.
I love what we can do. And I didn't necessarily see. Oh, I did see that. I did get the notice. So,
Mhm.
um, Peter, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Gerald. Hi, Jamie.
You're
Hi.
you're welcome. And this is I. Look at me. I'm going.
Well,
So
I
I
will
got
show
my
you,
one card. You see it?
and this is what mine says. Peter J.
except
Twizzler Watts. I've had that on my desk since that live with food.
and
So there you
so
go.
okay, so I've this is a casual with Peter J. Watts, but it's
Mhm.
actually my first ever book casual,
Mhm.
and it
Mhm.
is part of the Anima Mundi book tour.
Mhm.
So, and all of those links are below, people. So you can have that. So, and oh, just saying, Ren is here at a trade show, and we'll watch back. Your trade show probably isn't as fun as we're going to have.
Probably not. Yeah.
I'm
Watch back will be fun.
Yeah, the watch back will be fun. So, um, everybody, Peter J. Watts is the author of the book Anima Mundi: Dialogues with Earth, and there you go. And so, you can you see all of our little tabs, because Peter seemed to be surprised that Jamie and I, and truth be told, Jamie and I have spent about 6 weeks once a week going through and reading different sections and talking about this,
Reading
because
the same section and then talking about the same section.
Mhm.
yes, yeah,
But like a book club between you two.
Mhm.
yes, like a book club. Truth be told, we didn't read the whole book.
Ah, he
I
didn't
hope
read
not.
the whole book.
Oh,
I read all but like 12 pages.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep.
and for those who are following along, welcome
Hashtag overachiever.
Jamie, overachiever.
I knew it was coming. You're welcome.
I mean, but anyhow, I didn't realize that you didn't that you read all of it. Now I'm like, I'm totally
Well,
an overachiever.
no, not really. I mean, because you have to remember, well, my mom was a hippy dippy. And so there is a section of the book that is about food growing and stuff like that. So it's not a section that I went through faithfully,
Sure.
because so maybe it's more than 12 pages, but I mean, I glanced through them, but I didn't read them like I read the rest of it. Sorry, I'm done.
So the living lightly section.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Let's say hi to a few peepers.
Peepers? Let's go, peepers. How about sip, sip, dude?
Dude.
That's my nickname, Peter J. Twizzler Watts. Your mug, Dragonfly.
Dragonfly?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dragonfly. Okay. And by the way, the voice of Jeffrey, or Jeffrey's voice, is in the background. He's off today, so this is exciting.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello.
Julie Kusha Watts is here. Do you know Julie?
Me personally? No.
Yeah, you've never heard of her. You have not stalked her, like I heard you saying. Red Wing is here. Robin Toadstool Tarot. Is this
No,
a
sir,
back
it's
and forth? This isn't a back and forth. It's a book casual. So Beth is here. Hello, Beth.
Hi, Beth.
Tarot your way. Good to see you. Linda de Gonzalez is here. Hello. And I realize that I don't need to pop everybody up here, but I like it. It makes me happy. So, Dialogues with Earth. Does the dirt talk back?
It sure does.
The short answer is yes.
Well, and I don't call it dirt. It's soil to me. Dirt's a 4-letter word.
Mm.
So
There you go.
So it's soil, but it's okay. We'll give you a pass.
Yeah. Oh, and I love it. And Beth pops in. It does. We're just not listening. It's true. That's true.
Soil.
Ginger has only good things to say about this book, too. There you go. There you go. Hi, Tony. I'm one of the peepers, along with other frogs and toads.
Nice.
I
There you go.
love those. I love those. Except sometimes they're really loud.
Mm-hmm.
So
Look at that.
They've
Amina,
been sounding off for a while too.
you
my
invoked her
neighbor's
name.
it just got better. Everybody, we have a live scheduled with Amina in May, where we're going to continue our conversation about Orisha. We're going to use her deck, her oracle deck, to guide that, and we're going to learn the stories. So it's like
It's so
awesome.
fantastic. It's such a beautiful deck.
It's so good.
Agreed.
Robin wants a channel called Voice of Jeffrey.
Nice.
So,
I'd subscribe.
That would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn
Podcast.
is here. Hi, Lynn. I love it. It's like, yay. Okay. Lisa's here.
Hi, Lisa.
Deanne is here. Everybody take a sip in honor of Deanne.
Deanne.
The originator of that, as I know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Amina says, and I have my fan. Bring it. Not scared of your fan. So
She got one, I guess, huh?
yes, Kathy is working. Work-a-looking. So, all right. So, again, the links are in the description about the book,
And link is in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so this is, you know, as I said, we've gotten together for about 6 weeks, and we have been reading this, and I wanted to show all of our tabs and all of that.
I got a ton, apparently.
Yeah, you did more than me. So, and you know, because we wanted to be informed. What are you smirking about, you two?
Nothing.
Okay, Maruda is here. Hi, Maruda.
Hi, Maruda.
So,
Jeffrey's voice.
and
Sounds like a Moody Blues song.
Mm-hmm.
ooh, I love that. That could be good. So, okay, so I'm going to start off this the same way that I do my deck casuals, where I'm actually going to give some of the details of the physicality of the book. The book itself is 2 3/4 pounds. Did you know that, Peter?
3.2 pounds, according to the postage I had to send.
Oh, okay. Was that
Well,
the hardcover?
that was a hardcover, though.
Okay.
Mine's a hardcover. So
this is paperback. So there you go. And it is. Oh, here you go. It's 8.5 by 11, and it's 3/4 of an inch thick.
And at this size, you could kill someone with it.
You could, but not recommended for entertainment purposes only.
I'm just saying it's hefty at this size.
It is hefty.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes. So here's the front cover. Here's the side. Here's the back. I have one with an ISBN barcode on the back, Peter.
yeah, all of them should now. The only one that you might have gotten, you got when you got your guidebook.
Yeah.
I had 3 go out without ISBNs. So
and mine is one of them, which makes it even more special.
That's right. That's a collector's item, my friend.
Yes. So I bought this, and I also bought the deck, which we'll touch on a little bit later. Okay. Delicious looking book. Love the back of the book. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we both did buy this, by the way.
I'm sorry?
We both did buy this.
Yeah.
From Lulu.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And that's called turkey tail fungus. That's a mushroom. Makes a great tea. Very good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. I'm actually drinking some mushroom tea. No, mushroom coffee. So, all right.
Yeah.
So, because apparently mushrooms are all the rage that help keeping you healthy.
Oh, they've been so overlooked for so long. I mean, the lion's mane especially is so good for you, good for your brain.
Yes.
But yeah, funguses are important.
Yes. Okay, so just to be clear, it does come with a table of contents. You can see some of my notes. It also has a nice little forward, and This is one of the things that I absolutely love is it has a glossary.
Oh yeah.
People love me a glossary. Okay.
Mhm.
Love me a glossary. So Jamie, pop in here if you've got anything, because I'm just looking at my notes. So
Oh, the only thing I was going to say about the book and size is just personal preference. I wish it was 6x9 and that thick, because that's what it would be just based on the content, right? Because this is a heck of a thing to pack around, but pack around I did, and will continue to do only because. But yeah, if it were it would be much easier for me to throw into my work bag, because I'm worried about ruining it. And I guess a little one, I don't know. That's an
she's
odd
gonna
thing.
switch. She's gonna flip. Peter, you watching that? She's like, oh, if it's small.
No, because I like beat up books. I know people don't like that, but a book that you've been through and continue to go through and you go back to,
Well loved.
and yeah, and it gets that. So a 6x9 for me would get that a little bit more than this because I'm worried about it, and that's ridiculous. I just realized that's ridiculous, but there you have it.
I wonder how much of the, because that thing of a binding, I don't know how much you'd be able to actually see on the
That's
inside.
true.
You have to kind of crack
know.
it open. So yeah, I went with the 8.5 by 11 just because I knew it was going to be kind of copious. You know, there's a lot of information. And it just kept coming out. It just kept getting bigger and bigger as I was writing it. So
sure,
it doesn't fit into a genre. I mean, I was kind of worried about that too. It doesn't really have a place. But hi, Jonathan.
Aloha.
Okay, and Robin says beat up books get you to buy extra copies.
Fair enough.
Planned obsolescence, my friend.
But I'm also a person who I will go to a used bookstore and I will buy a used book, even, you know, especially when it has notes in it, because that's part of the history of the book. Because I'm me, I get inside the person who was reading its head and their experience with it. So
we'll get there,
except like but when you go to university and then you get somebody's used book and every page is highlighted in yellow, it's like, come on, dude, fix something.
Yeah.
I've been known to carry my books around with rubber bands around them because
the binding's falling apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple like that.
Yeah. Okay. So Peter, one of the things I'm looking at my notes. We've got a forward, you've got a justification, and a question that I have for you is you call yourself in the book, you call yourself an animist pagan. Could you tell us what that is?
Well, pretty much pagan is anybody who's not Christian, really. I mean, you want to get to the definition. An animism, at least for me, is that I see everything as alive, and so whether it's the wind or a rock, I still consider it to be, a kind of a cognizant, conscious being. And so for me, animism is that it's the idea of looking at the universe really as being conscious, everything. And so for me, that's what animism is.
This little tab right here, all it says is rocks do talk. That tickled me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta have my talking rock then. There you go.
I love it.
That's terrific.
Okay, so I'm looking at my questions because I'm trying to be a good host and not just go, "Ooh, my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!" And so, for Peter, for anyone who, I can do this. There are throughout the book, you have sections which are your poetry, and you also have, of course, I'm trying to find one with pictures, and I can't. Why is that happening? Oh, there are photographs, and then there are illustrations, and they work nicely. so I'm curious, Peter, for anybody who doesn't have the book, could you tell us how the illustrations came to be?
Yeah. So I've been drawing, most of my life. Back when I'm in elementary school, I was drawing lots of cars. That was the thing, right? But eventually it got to the point where, at the end of the day, I just needed a way of kind of emptying out. So I would, and I bet you I have 30 journals, probably more. And so I would open up my journal and I would just start to doodle. And that's how I took notes too. So whether I was taking notes, I'm a note taker constantly. Like, even through all the staff meetings that I was in as an educator, I had a stack of composition notebooks that were just because it keeps my brain on topic. I'm not one of those guys that chit chat in the back of the room. I hate that. So I'm usually sitting on the second row, right in the front, and I'm taking notes. And a lot of times those notes are just going to be doodles, and I can remember what happened in a lecture, for instance, by even looking at the doodles. So typically for me, at the end of the day, actually one or two drawings in the book, actually, the multidimensional being was actually a picture I drew while I was in a metaphysics class, but I typically just start with a shape, a doodle, and then pretty soon it just kind of grows. And I'm going, hey, wow, that looks like a bat, and then pretty soon I'm trying to make a bat. I'm really not a very good artist when it comes to like looking at something and drawing it exactly. I was actually pretty good with like all my lab work. So when I was doing biology, I could, draw all the muscles and the veins and the arteries or whatever of the things we were dissecting. I was pretty good at that, but I'm not just good at I can't do portraits or anything like that. So it is what it is when it comes out. And if it looks like something, I just kind of build on it, and it just kind of keeps growing from there. And sometimes it takes me, 4, 5, 6, 7 nights of drawing, and sometimes it's done after the first time. So
Sure.
It really depends. So that's how I draw. It's just kind of an emptying out, almost a meditative. I don't want to say shamanic practice, but it's definitely a meditative practice.
Do you have a favorite in the book?
Favorite drawing? There's a few, when I was, and I cleaned them all up. So, they're all sketches in, different sizes and notebooks. So they were scanned, and then I would clean them up. And when I do that, I would sometimes go through, on my computer and just look at them. And there are a few that say, I like that one. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all right if we share our favorites?
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah, if you have a favorite.
And because I have 257. Jamie, if I'll let you go first, but
okay, I have 3.
Okay, do you want to be in the hot spot just
to
make it okay for people to see?
No, it will be seen. It's okay.
She said no, and don't argue with her.
So I have 3, and they're so one thing about me is I don't even know how I explain this. So I see things pretty simply sometimes. Okay. And so when I first saw this drawing, the first thing I thought of was Rosanna Dana. And
sure.
With the little sweat ball on the nose, which that's not what that is, but that's what I saw. Okay. And it's charming to me. And then I read behind it, and now it's very emotional for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is like ancestor for me, this particular picture. Then of course anything.
Oh yeah. I love that one too.
Because it's just light and love. And then this one for me.
That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorite ones too.
Is amazing and has, for me, has great depth of feeling. So those are my 3 favorites.
The Wood Woes, the first one.
Yes.
This is my favorite from the book, and aesthetically, it's what I like to do. I like to line up things that one might not necessarily see together and put them in a way where individual. I can look at this individually. I have a thing for feathers, and I know that's a Corey shell, but it's also a coffee bean in my mind. But
Coffee bean for me.
yeah, but so for me is when you line things up like this, you're creating a totem. You're creating something that, in this case, would send me to a direction. It would help support me, and I like how in individually, like this one here, I like the heart on the bird with the roots, and then we have so it just, for me, it's an evolution. Aesthetically, that is right up my line. So so thank you for that. So okay, Jamie, they have a leather book covers you might use to preserve the cover.
That's true.
And these are good drawings. Are they on cards?
Yes.
Why, yes. Link below. They're the Oracle of the Animae Mundi guidebook. And they're good size cards. I'm not going to go into deeply, but they're actually, just to give some perspective on those. Oops.
Yeah, that's one of the ones at the end. I had 7 extra cards, so that one has nothing on them. It's just a blank card. You can do with it what you want.
It's very pretty though.
So, and but okay, I'm trying not to, So, and these.
So that's always one of my favorite ones, Jamie. For whatever reason, that one always makes me smile. I don't know why.
Yeah, Red Wing likes the drawings too, so. But I'm glad you popped them out, and okay, tuck box.
Yeah. So, and going back to those drawings, I've been doing that for a long time. So some of those are 30, 40 years old that have been just sitting in a journal, and decided to dust them off and find the light of day.
Thank you for that. Actually, I'm glad the book and the Oracle have given an opportunity for you to share those with us. One of the things that I noticed, and Jamie and I were talking about this early on, is this book is, and you talk about it in the introduction, it's a mixture of your life experiences, and Peter sort of like blinked there, and now I'm worried. That's a compliment. You've got science in here. You have your own experience, and then you have your spiritual experiences in the book. Is that a fair?
A little bit like the drawing that you had there, which I call the Atisokanak, which is so I have my spiritual background. I was not technically raised Catholic, but my parents were. Well, my dad was Catholic, but a lot of the traditions that I still follow are Anishinaabe, so Woodland Indian, which is the Adawa, Ottawa, the Potawatomi, and Ojibwe, and so the Ojibwe is a tradition that I follow pretty closely. Thank you, Tony. So the Atisokanak is the realm of souls. It's the other world. It's the underworld in some ways, and that's a pretty important thing for me.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I come from with the animism, I guess, and with the spiritual aspect of it. It comes mostly from that.
So, because this is a blending, and because you are paradoxical, I have that, Julie. I have it highlighted. I have it circled and all that stuff. I'm like going, anyhow, you have to get the book to know that joke. What was it like for you in creating this book? And Jamie and I sort of talked about this, and one of it's like, what was it like to write the book and to make this book become a reality? And another aspect of it is what was it like to take those different aspects and weave them together for you to share with us?
I guess I would say the approach, Gerald, for me was that the intent wasn't necessarily something that was going to be shared. You know what I mean? So that gave my heart and my brain free, free realm. I mean, I was able to go with it where I wanted to. It evolved as I was writing it, and so it in some ways. I mean, after I retired from teaching, I do not miss the political aspect of education at all. I don't. I got out right before the pandemic, and I don't know if I would have been able to survive it, and that would have been a really shitty way.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh. Oh.
Shitty way to go out.
Where's that hashtag?
No, I
was
trying to help out. Yep.
Here we go.
But it would have been a really lousy way to go out, because it was all done virtually. And when I'm teaching, I've got to get that bounce back. I've got to get that feel. And I have so much respect for you guys who do this online, where you don't. I suppose you get better at it maybe as you do it, but I need to have that energetic, reflective thing happening.
Yeah.
And if I feel like I'm losing you, I kind of fall apart. And so for me, it was nice that I was able to bring the stuff that I would teach into the book, whereas before it was because it's loosely based on the first book that I did, which was World Tree, the metaphysical journey of a closet shaman. And that was like to shut them up. Fine, I'll do it. I'll shut up. I will do it. And I've tucked it away right now. You know where my copy is? I'm raising chicks right now, and I've got little baby chickens, and I have them in a big metal trough that I have outside, and the bottom got blown out because it got water in it, and when it froze, it just kind of blew the bottom out. So I had to take it back outside. Well, it's got this big bow on the bottom, and it rocks. So I got my book shoved underneath that to keep it from rocking. So that tells you what I think about that one. But I was able, and that was mostly just spiritual stuff. That was really just my, the metaphysical aspect of things in my life.
Sure.
This one, I was able to put myself into the book more. I mean, I say it's like being in my brain for 310 pages, and so it was like, and I'm spending a lot of time in the woods. I mean, sitting in the dark and ruminating on it. The book just began to grow. Like the whole middle section, the one that you didn't read, Jamie, was one. It's like, I have all these photographs of stuff that I've done around the yard, and people do ask me about that. And I look at the yard, I can just see what needs to be done. But most people see my gardens, and they're like, "Wow, this is fantastic!" Right? And I thought, why don't I add a section in the middle, and I can, because none of them had drawings. I mean, I didn't have anything that really fit with it. So I threw photographs in there. So that's kind of how it grew. And then to try to make it, then the next fun part was to try to connect them all.
Sure.
So if I was talking about the wild ones, I mean, it rambles a little bit, but I think I do okay job transitioning to all my ideas to make it follow through to the end. So it was fun in a lot of ways. And I did it for myself. I wasn't really doing it to publish necessarily. I was kind of encouraged by corporal people, human beings, to do something with it. But so that gave me a lot of freedom to do what I wanted to do with it. So like I said, this is into a genre.
Yeah, but sometimes I think that if you don't have the idea in mind and you don't have the pressure of trying to perform or create something with the ultimate goal of selling it, I think in this case particularly, you get a much more honest view of what's going on in your heart and soul. And I do want to clarify, it's not that I didn't read it, I just didn't read it like word for word. I've touched legit every single page in the book. It's just that's stuff that I understand and know, and I wanted to know and understand what's inside of you. So, and
you're still talking to me, so that's a good sign.
Well, fair enough.
Well, and I think, and I'll be honest with you, Peter, I'm going to heap praise in your general direction, so be ready.
I deal with it as best I can.
Okay. You
Which
would
is
be a
not well.
teacher that I would have loved having in school, and you would have annoyed me enough to get me out of my comfort zone and encouraged me for my own enlightenment with stuff. So
I can see that.
that's high praise. So, I mean,
I appreciate that. I think
So-
I was a pretty good educator. I think I did an okay job. I really like to know my kids.
Yeah.
And, when I started getting 250 and, in a course load, I mean, before we used to have about 100, and I really got to know my students really well. And then we went from 9 teachers down to 3. And, the class sizes got bigger. I was teaching a lot more kids. I didn't get to know them as well.
Right.
But yeah, they still talk to me. They see me out in the world. They always say hi.
Yeah. Well, okay. And so
It's funny you should say that, Jonathan, because I totally disappointed my mother when I told her I was going into education, and I wasn't. She had high hopes for me. I totally disappointed her, but I taught middle school most of my career, and I really liked it. It was a good age group for me because they're quirky and awkward and still a bit inquisitive and challenging and really creative. And I had a really good time teaching middle school, and my mom was not happy about that. She wanted me to go shoot a little higher.
Well, okay, but there you go. I'm going to take a sip because I'm still thinking about, because that made me think about some of the teachers that I had who back in the day, I learned things about life in their classes that had nothing to do with the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's,
Well, one way I went around that, Gerald, and actually I started keeping track of the cards. So one of the books that I got still rolling around in my brain is, I was never like a big homework giver. I don't think giving homework for the sake of giving homework was good for anybody. If I gave you class time and you didn't finish it, I guess you got homework. But you know what? If you want to sit in here, and I don't expect you to be quiet and totally focus on just do it. I mean, I understand that there's other things going on, but if you don't get it done, I guess you have homework. But we were kind of required to give something. So I started having them do journal assignments, and so they would have to at least journal something or ask like 3 questions. And I would prefer them to be part of whatever we talked about. So if it was about rocks,
sure.
Are rocks really alive? If it was about rocks, I wanted to have questions about, what is a sedimentary rock, or this is what I learned, or whatever. Well, then eventually I started asking them, like, okay, who wants to share what they wrote? And then I would get a question, and it might be about dreams. So I took the time at the beginning of class to talk about dreams. It didn't have anything to do with volcanoes, but it had to do with something they were interested in. And sometimes we got onto these really great conversations. I got talking about lucid dreaming, and one of my favorite stories about that is this boy named John. He wore Crocs every day with shorts, even in the wintertime, walking through the snow with his bare feet, basically. Really, really fun kid. And he was totally interested in this whole lucid dreaming idea. When he was in 8th grade, I had him in 7th grade, and he came back in 8th grade. He goes, Mr. Watts, guess what? I'm going, what happened, John? Because I had a lucid dream last night. I said, that is far out. What happened? So he tells me all about the dream. And and so how it sticks with them later, just letting them talk about what was interesting to them. And at that point, I was able to pull back. I say, guys, we got to get on. Let's do whatever we're doing for the day. But those 3 questions became part of it. And then I started making them write it on index cards. So, and then I have a stack like this thick of index cards of all the questions these kids have asked over the years. I thought it would be really fun to just kind of pick a bunch of them and answer them, So here are 7th grade, here's what a 13-year-old is asking me, and this is my response to it. And
is that your next book?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I love that.
I'll be right there.
I'm totally there.
So fun. It was really fun. Yeah.
I'm totally there. Who did you hope to reach with this book?
Like at first, nobody. Once the book became like, okay, I guess I'm doing a book. Good. That's a good question. I feel like I'd probably be mostly preaching to the choir. I doubt that I'm going to be changing anybody's worldview, because I don't know if anybody who didn't share at least some of that magic, of the world would be reading it. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Can I answer it?
Changing anything. What's that?
Can I answer it?
Yes, I would. That would be great because I don't know.
Like-minded people with interesting hearts and souls, and giving them an expansion into things they already know, but maybe from another person's perspective based on their, meaning your experience.
Yeah, I might get somebody to speak their truth. I kind of wrote that into the book that I want you to sing your song. I want you to dance your dance. I want you to, and just get to know this planet a little bit better. And the things, I guess I take a lot of that stuff for granted. As an educator, I might over-explain some things, but I tried not to assume people knew stuff. But as I'm talking with kids, with adults, it's a bit different. And so I always feel like, well, people know this, and Juliet even looked at me and go, no, they don't. I'm going, really? They don't know that?
Yeah.
So that helped a lot to say, well, hell, I'm going with it. I'm going to take this everywhere I know where I can go with it. So.
And you did. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I didn't want to follow that.
Okay.
And I exercised my right to skim. And that was fine, because there are parts in this book, Peter, that, does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I'd be interested to know like which ones they were, but you don't have to share that if you don't want to. But
I knew I was going to get charged when I saw, I'm trying to find it, when I saw this.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
That spiral was my sign of is this is going to be good. It's going to stretch me. And so, it was just one of those things that was very helpful. And I'm going to pause for a second, and linked below, there are other stops that you've had on the Animae Mundi book tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I recommend, if you want to get different perspectives on the book, to go look at those videos, because everybody who has interviewed you, Peter, comes to it from their perspective.
Yeah, that's been really cool.
And it has. And I rewatched them, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to ask that. Don't need to ask that. Don't want to ask that. So all of us are taking a different perspective with it, and which is totally cool. Totally cool.
Well, and you had asked me, Gerald, one of the questions we had talked about is how did each of us approach it, right? So I did a lot of the choosing of pages to read for us, just because that's the way it worked out, the dynamic of it. But I approached it almost from a bibliomantic kind of view, in which I put both hands on the book, both feet flat on the floor, and then I opened the book. And where it landed is where it landed. And then I went from there. The other point is what Gerald had said. Anytime I saw that spiral, I stopped to legit pay attention and read fully, versus just chugging right through. Because there's a lot here. This is one of those things where you take it to bed. So hi Peter. You take it to bed and you read a few pages.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you set it down. And
Yeah.
it's almost like taking Amina's deck to bed, pulling a card, and then putting that card underneath my pillow. Because I'm going for, where is this going to take me for my spiritual practice? Where is this going to take me in the night? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where, it's just one of these. I have all these tabs because I went through and I put tabs on things that popped out to me. I wanted to come back and look at them later, right? So then I would just all of a sudden stop and it's okay. I have a spiral. What do I have going on here that my energy has stopped on that page, right? What's the approach here? So that's where I went with it and how I tackled this. So it was never in a linear fashion. It was definitely very back and forth.
That's why I figured people would kind of go through that book. And I used the spiral because I had so many different kinds of sections, and whether it was delineating a poem and the background behind the poem, or it was delineating, an essay. I just wanted some way of separating them, and that's what I ended up using was that spiral, a little bit like the Fae that.
Well, I just realized something too in that. So bibliomantically, the spiral, and then I realized that I went through this book probably 5 separate times looking for different things. So the next thing is I went through all of the art. And then after that, I went through, hence all my tabs. And I do have like little metal copper points on some of these pages for things that really struck me. But, and then I went through all of the poetry to see, what would resonate. So actually I did it. Yeah, it was a little bit different it's amazing what you remember when you sit down and you're like, wait a minute, how did I do this?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I've been really curious about how people tackle it because it's not, you don't read it from beginning to end. It's not a novel, it's not that. So,
well, I mean, you could, but
that's cool.
You could. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend that, to be honest with you, because, it's me. So I read the foreword, the preface, and the justification first, because I want to get into your energy. What are you thinking about, so that I can tune in. And then I'll be honest with you, I went to the Wheel of the Year, and which is going to be a great resource for me, because I'm like going, I've already got some things, I have Beltane tabbed, and I'm just like going, this is good information because it's all in one spot, and it pulls from multiple influences. So
it does. Yeah. So there's definitely a Celtic influence in for me, and yeah, Jonathan likes the gardening section. So at least somebody read it, Jonathan.
Oh, all right, Twizzler. All right, I'm hearing it.
Yeah, but so there you go. I
so
did
much
that.
For living lightly.
No, it's really intriguing, Jamie. I'm glad that's the way you approach it. I mean, that seems like a good way. I mean, for me, I think the first thing I did when I got the book was I started looking at all the pictures. That was the first thing I did, was just go through and look at all the pictures. And so I could see how that, that grew that way.
What about you, G?
I think it's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Well, I read the introduction and that because I learned in college the importance of reading the preface and the introduction when you're reading anything, because it frames everything. And then I jumped to the Wheel of the Year, because I was like going, okay, what, let's find out more. And it's very, very helpful. And then I consumed quickly and then reread parts of the Bees. The Importance of the Bees, which
the
is
circuitous journey of the European honeybee.
Yes, yes.
That's where my copper point is. That's funny, right there.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And so I am looking forward, because I have the Oracle. I'm looking forward to looking at the Oracle in relation to the book, just because I like the layers.
Right, and which is really, I think, getting the book first before the Oracle. Not that I'm not selling anything, but I think the Oracle will make a lot more sense, because I did not get into any of the deeper descriptions in the guidebook that I did in the book, for obvious reasons. But and I kind of wonder, like, man, should I be including some of that? And it's just like, I'm going to keep the same format going all the way through. So the imagery, the description, associations and takeaways. And I just stayed with that same format. I wasn't going to add anything else. And I got to put a little bit of the science into the guidebook. But for the most part, I think knowing the book will help a lot with understanding what I did with the Oracle.
Yeah. So 2 things. Number 1, I will be super duper honest. I'm glad you're not selling anything, because this was an interesting process for he and I. And I think that if you were out there pushing, thumping, and the whole 9, that it would kind of cheapens the experience that you have inside with it. And the second thing is, I would not have read the beginning like Gerald did if he hadn't said, well, this is what I'm doing, because I wanted to have something to discuss.
Oh, right.
So I read it because I wanted to hear you on a different level, not, someone else's words, and bless the pointed heads of everybody that was involved on the outside of all of that. I appreciate it, but I wanted to hear you on a completely different level.
Yeah.
And I wanted and it sounds too touchy-feely and it sounds almost corny, but I wanted to feel you in your words. So I'm very glad you're not selling something, because that would suck to me.
Yeah.
Well, and it seems, we've had these conversations before. Even with any kind of magic or healing work or whatever, it's just hard for me to think about belittling something by charging for it. It's an energetic exchange. Cerebrally, I get all of that. It's just, it's hard for me to say, this is my journey, and if it helps somebody, I want to help people. And I think that that's the well from which I was dipping. So
it is a very authentic journey. It's authentic, and that's one of the things that I appreciate about it. It's very authentic. You're not making excuses. You are, however, poking some fun at yourself about, being contrary and all that. But it's a lighthearted thing. It's just like going, you know what? This is who I am, and I'm okay with that.
I don't tolerate intolerance.
Yes.
It may be paradoxical.
Yeah. And so Peter's website is the best place to go for the most current links for it, and you have to click on that for the Oracle. So that's good. Okay, gosh.
Are there any questions coming up on the chat? I want to see what's going on down there.
One of the things that was asked is Beth asked Peter, those are Midwestern and Northern Midwestern tribes. Is that where you're from, or is that your spiritual connection?
I am a woodland being, like through and through, and so I've always lived in the Upper Midwest. That's where I've always lived. I even in high school, like we'd have like debates or whatever it might be in whatever class we were taking, and I always took kind of that tougher road. But people ask, like, what church you go to? I'm going, the woods. And like, well, what religion are you?
The woods.
The trees, man. That's my religion. What do you want from me? And so from very early on, I was always very connected to that northern Midwestern energy. And so the nations that are here, and I just happened to get involved with an Ojibwe elder, a few of them, and some Menominee elders, and that's where a lot of my teachings then came from. So it's both a spiritual connection as well as my physical connection is here. Go out west, and I loved it. Go out to mountains, and I got a little tired of all the pine trees. And as soon as I crossed that Mississippi River, I bet you I could be in a car with my eyes closed, and I would know when I was back in Wisconsin. I just know I would know it. And so it's my heart and soul is here. Yeah. Also Scotland. I definitely felt a huge connection to the UK. I was very, very connected to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate and like the Celtic bent to the
Yeah.
book, just because that's where my roots are. My roots are in the soil. So yeah.
Yeah, Curling, Wisconsin. Actually, I hike every week with a couple other retired guys, and we tend to have a lot of tries. So we were just out in the Blue Mound, Mount Horeb area yesterday. So we're kind of that southwestern part. I'm not sure where you are, but yeah, that's I love that driftless area, and I get into my science nerd self on that whole section too. We talk about Spirit Lake, Devil's Lake, and
Love that.
yeah. I got to get the geology.
Yeah, I did post that if people want to ask questions, put it in capital letters, because I've got some. Okay, what are your favorite parts of the book? And I know it's like asking people to pick a favorite child, which I know if I were your child, you would pick me, and that would be fine.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
It's okay.
Really?
Well, are you my child too?
Oh, you're the youngest, Jamie.
Oh,
Between us.
well, yeah. Sorry, it'd have to be Jamie then if it's.
That's true.
I do age in a few days.
If I have to pick, how
Ha.
much money? I usually go, how much money you got?
Pick him.
Oh, there you go. And Maruda loves Wisconsin. Okay, so I have written down my favorite. I loved the prayer of "Bring Me Balance," which is on page 28. "Bring Me Balance," a prayer. It was like incredible. It was like, oh yeah. Because, you said at the beginning, it's like, with prayer and mindfulness, I continue working to keep the warrior's rage under control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so very true. So very true. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that one was written probably in the early 80s.
Do you feel like it's still relevant?
I guess in some ways, Gerald, as one ages, one, mellows. I don't know if Julie would agree that I'm much mellower now, but I feel more mellow, more complete, and that whole section really was about past lives, and as past lives kind of come flooding in, you've got to deal with that somehow. I mean, somehow you have to figure out how to assimilate that new information. It's like discovering another personality of you, and you have to find a way of incorporating that into who you are. And and it's not like I was going out and beating people up or anything, but it was definitely a turbulence. There was an unsettling to me. You get to think, well, this is who I am, and now you get new information. It's like, well, that's not quite who I am. How do I get that to fit? And so the idea of balance is, again, it's a very traditional way of looking at your worldview and the way you live in it. That was an important part. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Thank you. I also like chapter 2, the wild ones. My entire chapter 2 has got all sorts of notes and tags. Robin asked, he said, I know this is focused on the book, but even though I've found the cards, I can't find a flip through. There isn't one yet because I haven't done one.
Yeah, and online too. Like sometimes you can see like a few pages, like on I guess if you look on Amazon or something, they might show you some of the book. There were no. If you go to Printer Studio, there's no way of looking at like the cards themselves. And I don't know. I don't think they do it. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's on my list of things to do.
That'd be great. I'd love to see
to make a flip through of that. I just have got a new setup.
There's 8 sections and 8 cards per section. So that's 64 cards.
There you go. And of course, I loved the Wheel of the Year. That was one of my favorite sections. And then I love the Honeybee. So I mean, just love that. Jamie, what were your favorite sections?
Page 12 to 18. You know how you always, I shouldn't say how you always, but for me, I look to try and connect, to feel, to have an intrinsic understanding. So for me, 12 to 18 are closest to who I am, in which like Living Stars, and then the Untitled Prayer on 18, page 181, the Water Panther and the Thunderbird, page 209 to go with the drawing, and then of course everything about the Wheel of the Year and Emilk and stuff, but also the honeybee.
Gigi will watch back. We're way too deep for her.
Sorry.
We're you know, it's a fun anyhow. Okay, Peter,
Yes,
on
sir.
page 12, I need you to pronounce a word for me. And I can't find it in the.
Is it the Kababatian, which would be page 13, or?
Yes, that word.
Yeah. So Kababatian, I couldn't find any kind of translation, but I would wake up or I'd come out of an experience, and that word would be in my head like all the time. So for me, it translated to dream dancer, and so there's nothing. I've searched for it. There's nothing. I kind of thought maybe it was an indigenous word, but there doesn't seem to be one. So Kababatian.
Thank you. And you knew exactly the word I was when you got there, because I one of the things that I appreciate about this book is you use words that everyone doesn't use all of the time, and I appreciate that. It's a good day for me when I have to look up a word. I still have dictionaries because that's fun to me, and so
We had a good chuckle about that.
Yes, yeah, because we're like, what's that word mean? Anyhow.
So the glossary wasn't enough, huh?
Well, at that point, I'm like going, oh shoot, there's a glossary.
This was way before glossary. Look, this was way before we even, yeah.
Hello. So anyhow, but yeah, I'm not going to ask you your favorite of the book because that would be mean, but part of me wants to.
I think it's hilarious.
What's your favorite part of the book, Peter?
The last page.
The last page.
Overachiever.
Oh my God, I love that.
In writing about the author, that's just something you see in books, right? And that was a hard one for me to write. So I don't know if that's my favorite, but that was definitely a hard one to put in.
So
there.
Your favorite part is the part that actually challenged you versus the things that kind of just flowed together for you and that you patchwork together.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that about the author was my favorite part, but that's at the end of the book. At the end of the book, but not the last page. The last page is blank, just so you know.
It is.
Well, the last page with something on it is a picture of this person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right after Beltane.
Yep.
Coming back full circle on that one.
Yes. And
so that is my birthday.
May 1st or May 6th?
No, 1st.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to if you look at the dates on the Wheel of the Year, those cross-quarter days are like halfway between quarter days. So for instance, Beltane should be halfway between the equinox and the solstice. And so literally if you count up the days, it's not May 1st, it's more like May 5th or 6th. So if you looked at the dates on that Wheel of the Year, then you would. So you're a May Day baby, but I wouldn't consider that Beltane, which is Scottish Celtic.
Keep dashing
I
your
just
drink.
keep disappointing Jamie today. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I love you.
But yeah, so if you look at the dates on the cross-quarter days, that's why they're not like typical.
No, I mean, what you're talking about is very appropriate. But I've always said that I've never said anything about anything other than me being a May Day baby and the maypole and all of those things.
Well, and one of my really good friends, Roger, is born on May Day too. He's a May 1st baby too. And my grandson was born on April 30th, so we still kind of consider him kind of a May Day baby.
So, but have you disappointed them and let them know that they're not Beltane babies or anything like that?
Yeah.
Have you shared the disappointment with your best friend?
Yeah.
He doesn't say he's Beltane though. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
He used to say he's a May Day baby, and that's May Day. We used to celebrate that on the 1st. Well, and it's even like Samhain or Halloween. The 31st is not. I mean, if you count the days, it's not then. It's more like November 6th or 7th. So
Right.
So it's and it's all good. It's all good.
I will post this picture with you having the ability to not answer it.
I am 63.
Dude.
Old.
No, I'm like going, damn, I want to be that, that energetic at 63. I mean, how much time do you spend outside in the garden?
Outside in general? I mean, I was outside even today. I mean, every day I'm outside. I would say between being outside, wandering the woods and being in my garden, probably about 8 hours a day.
Okay.
Well, and like if I look at it like as an average year round, that's probably true, about 8 hours a day. So,
yeah, you're only 7 years older than I am, and you look fabulous.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, there you go. Definitely not old. You look amazing. I've seen 45-year-olds that look 70s. Stop talking about me, Pia. Yeah. And okay. So yeah, there you go. Never would have guessed. There you go. Okay, because I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the Oracle and showing some of that. Is there anything you want to talk about with the book?
And you kind of started off with the physicality of it. I end up the way that the printing works is that I was able to go with a nice 80-pound paper in the paperback, but for me to go to like a premium ink quality, it automatically turned into a hardcover. So I couldn't get the paperback to print in a premium ink. So, and it's that same kind of nice glossy, not glossy, but a nice, like I said, the 80-pound paper, which has, I don't know, is that a cold press or whatever they call that.
I love the paper in this book.
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? I was really pleased with it. But I have to admit that, especially with the photographs, the print quality is so much better in the hardcover. But it's like it's more than twice as much.
Sure.
It's almost 3 times as much, really. But I wanted to have a hardcover just for myself, and I'm glad I did, because I was just totally surprised by it. So that's like the only thing that. All right, Plucky, good. Just keep plugging away, right? That's all we can do.
And Jonathan said, "OMG, I just realized that Peter is clean shaven."
Yeah, usually got my big old beard going in the wintertime, but
so
as soon as it starts getting warm, I got to shave that puppy off.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I can quickly read the table of contents. We have a foreword by Amber Ton, a preface, justification. Chapter 1 is Soul of Earth. Chapter 2 is Wild Ones. Chapter 3 is The Wheel of the Year. Chapter 4, Living Lightly. Chapter 5, Dreams and Visions. Chapter 6, Sacred Songs. Chapter 7, Animae Mundi and Healing. Chapter 8 is Oracle of Animae Mundi. A little sampling there. And then we have the glossary, influencers, and about the author. So,
and for people that don't know what Animae Mundi is, I suppose that'd probably be something that should be mentioned. It's it basically is the soul of the world, or the world soul, or the soul of Earth. And anime with the ae on the end is in Latin plural, but it's also linguistically like I guess they call it. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the exact phrase is, but it's kind of like you're addressing all the souls of the planet directly. And so that's why Animae Mundi versus Animae Mundi, which is what you typically would see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I guess I probably should have started with that.
Yeah, you know, I don't even think of it. Again, it's one of those things like
Underachiever.
I should probably.
Jamie, anything you want to talk about with this before I?
No, because I will just keep you way too long. It's all good. I will just tell you, Peter.
This is good.
I will just tell you whether you want to hear it or not. I hold it in high regard, and I'm thankful to have it. And if I can get a hardback copy, I will. How's that? So
then you
moving
can
on.
pick that one up all you want.
Right. Nice.
Guidebook is linked below, and this guidebook for the Oracle of the Anima. Am I saying that right? Animae
Mundi.
Animae Mundi. It is set up to where it's set up very nicely, because on one side you have a description, and then you have associations, messages, and takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to Jamie when I got this, and I was like, I totally love that, because I could use this book simply for bibliomancy, without the cards. So it's like, it's brilliant. I love that, because sometimes sometimes I don't understand the images, or I'm not seeing part of it. And, I like to be, surprised, but then I love that all of the associations are in alphabetical order. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because, one of the things that is helpful is that as a creative person, if I am looking for what's the association with that and that and that, and I can look and I go, oh, the common thing is this. And I do that. I'm an overthinker. So,
well, and I struggled to explain, like, because of the way I draw. I mean, and these drawings weren't made to become an oracle. So I'm kind of like apologizing right up front about that. You're welcome, Jonathan. Thanks for getting it. That, and the process was really fun. So at some point it'd be really fun to talk about that. But the drawings themselves aren't like about one thing. There's a lot going on in every one of the pictures. And I was kind of like teasing Julie about that too. It's like, why do you read these things? They had descriptions. And so they're telling you what you see in the picture. Of course you can see what's in the picture. And then I started realizing, well, there's a lot of stuff in those pictures. I mean, I get it now. I get it. And so the associations were like, so if there's a lizard and there's a feather and there's a moon and there's a lightning bolt and there's an antler or whatever in the picture, every one of those have something a little different symbolically. And so I just started kind of keeping track of those things. The work process was interesting, and then I started looking, and I couldn't like separate. Well, bat is this, and armadillo is this, and that is this. I thought, I don't want to do that. So the reason that all the associations are there is because there's a lot in the picture itself, and I had to alphabetize it because it would have been a total mess otherwise. And so some of them are almost contrary sometimes.
Of course. And Pia's life just knew their limits, and
thank you,
just responsibly. So,
thank you, Pia. The associations was interesting. And did you think it was too fluffy though, Gerald? I mean, I don't do reverses. I don't really think reverses for me are helpful. So there's nothing like very like negative in it. It's mostly a very positive take on everything. Whether it's death or storm or whatever it might be. And I was a little bit worried that maybe it's just too, foo-foo, but it's not. It settled better with me to tell it through a more optimistic lens, I guess.
I
Um,
did not feel it was
okay,
too
yeah,
fluffy.
okay.
So just to flip through some more of the images of the cards. And it's set up by directions, correct?
It is, and something that I end up doing in my book, because when you pull the card, I don't have them numbered either, and I struggled with that, whether I should number them. It didn't seem right, because then people are going to try to do numerology with it, and I didn't want to do that. So what I ended up doing, I don't know if you can kind of see it here, is that they're also associated with like an element. So, earth or fire, sky, whatever. And I put that in the book. And actually, I actually did it on my digital copy too. So I ever reprint it, that's probably what I'll do. So if you look at the top, there's a symbol, and all you'd have to do, at least you narrow it down to 16
Yeah.
to try to find it in the book. Otherwise, it was probably a little bit too cumbersome to try to find it. So
Yeah.
Live and learn on that one.
So, but yeah, so there's that. I have on my list of things to do is a flip through of the Animae Mundi Oracle, or Oracle of the Animae Mundi. Sheesh.
It all works.
So there's that. Callie Healer is here. Hello. And Maruda said, I prefer upright only cards since I'm compulsive about keeping them all upright in the deck. I expect people can infer the negative aspect from the topic.
And that's, Maruda, that's exactly the take I took too, that I kind of explained it like I look at both sides. So there's always good and bad, good and evil, however you want to put it. There's always, black and white. There's always two things to everything that we do. There's consequences, there's cause and effect. And so to read it all into that, and which is why I thought the associations was an interesting way of doing it, because when I look at it, it's like for whatever reading I might be doing, I'm just picking out certain terms or words that are like resonating with me, and I'm hoping that's the way it works. But that was the intent.
The other thing is this is my deck, so I can write the numbers on it if I want. I am all, because I'm not afraid to do that. I'm that kind of guy. I have a marker. I can do that. And I could also, I'll also write in here my personal associations. And I get the feeling from reading the Animae Mundi, you want people to journal. You want them to create their own relationship with the environment around them.
Yeah, I can't put it like the way I looked at it is I kind of created a little sample page in there too, like what I might do if I was doing the reading with each card. And it was just like, possible interpretation. So I had like, there you go. You would probably do better. So, what element it is, the direction, the time of day, non-spatial continuum, associations that resonate with me. And there's messages, and most of those, they're not all positive. There's some ones like, be careful. Like oak is notorious for being a lightning rod, right? They attracts lightning. So if oak comes up and you're looking at that and oak is there, maybe you need to be a little careful about drawing too much drama into your life or whatever. But for the most part, it's I'm mostly positive. It's not a lot of negative stuff in there.
What I want to do is this is going to be added to my list of cards that I use for daily draws. Right now, I'm using the Amanat's deck, and so I'll be adding this. That's a great way for me to pull it, read about it, and then pay attention to see how it shows up in my world.
Right, and since they're set up by like a wheel of the year, Gerald, I'm wondering also, like if you just pulled out those cards we're in the Beltane season now, that maybe that might be an interesting way of using it too. I haven't tried doing that, so I don't. It could work that way too. It defies definition. It's just who I am. It just it is what it is.
Well, yes. So, all right, we are at 1 hour and 15 minutes, and I don't want to keep you too long. And I do want to thank everybody for watching. This is one stop on the Animae Mundi book tour.
For introverts, this has been great. I don't have to go anywhere. This is fantastic.
There you go. Those are all linked below. Lots of links below. Know your limits, purchase responsibly. And so just so that you know, because of this book and because of Candy, Soul, and Soil, I've actually been putting my hands in dirt this year more than I have done than I did the last 2 years combined. So just
Soil,
saying.
so good for you, Gerald. Antidepressant. It's got everything in it.
Yep. So congrats on your book,
Thank
Peter.
you, Beth. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pia.
And yep. And fascinating. Here. Soil.
Soil.
I was going to say the same thing, and then it's like, no, it's fine. It's all good.
Excuse me. God, soil. Okay. And just remember, science is real.
You know.
Magic is real as well, because aren't they the same thing? So
can't have one without the other.
That's true. There you go. And okay, yes, soil. Anyhow, so it was a great chat. Everybody, thank you. Thank you, Peter, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Gerald and Jamie.
I'm just a sidekick, really.
I love it. Soil is real. I'm totally going to be adding that one.
And dirt's a 4-letter word.
Dirt's a 4-letter word. So is soil. Alchemy exists. There you go. And so when's the next book coming out? The one where you're answering all the kids' questions?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably let this one settle for a while, but I'm going to pull those cards out here eventually. And I think I'm going to do the same thing. It's like, because there's, like I said, it's a stack like that. I might just like do some oracle reading with it, just pull out certain cards and go with what happens. Because I mean, I don't think you could do. I mean, if you don't like the size of this book, the size of that book would be.
No, I love the size of this book. That's not the point. Damn it.
It'd be a lot, but it would be a lot of fun. But yeah, I think it'd be great. That's next on my docket.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. You heard it here
for winter. What's that?
You heard it here first, people. It's the next on the docket.
It's on the docket. I'll wait for winter. That's when I usually want to sit down and maybe do some more writing. During the summer, I'm not home.
Right.
I'm outside.
Yeah, of course. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for coming.
We'll have the outro. Everyone, take care. Bye.